Okay, so I just did a whole spiel, and turns out camera wasn't actually recording, and I actually kind of fucked up anyway. So I'm gonna start over anyway. Title of this video: Watch a. That felt inauthentic too. All right. This is gonna be hard for me because I've never tried to be authentic in a video like this before, ever. It's kind of the exact opposite of everything I've ever done. But we'll try it. Try something new just for fun. I do want to tell you the story of my experience trying to enjoy a hammock as an overthinker. And I don't know, that felt kind of stupid to say. Again, not authentic. I'm just going to call myself out. I'm going to call myself out whenever I feel like I'm saying something in a more performative way as opposed to a more authentic way, just because that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, so, a little bit about me to kind of start this off. I've always been like very much like the type A type, where I've been very much into like video and filmmaking and stuff like that. I lived in Los Angeles for 8 years and ran a production company out there, and had some moderate success, and had a lot of fun doing a lot of that stuff. And I have always been like the perfectionist, and I've always been extremely goal driven. Like it's so annoying to think about now, but like when I would like meet someone at a bar or something, like one of my go-to questions would be like, oh, like what's your end goal? And like I've been just so like just driven, like go 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 go, to a just like all through my 20s. Any day I spent not even relaxing, or like not even, I don't know, any day I spent not toward my goal, like was a day wasted in my eyes. So, I'm not even explaining this well, because it was fucking like however I'm saying it times 100. Like it was intense. Like I had to succeed. Like I remember one time I was probably like 25 or 26 or something, and I was like sitting on my couch, and I was like, I have two options. I can either like sit here and do nothing and end up like this sorry fucking person, or I can fucking like write every day, do a hard regimen, and fucking make a movie, and fucking like be this famous movie director, and like get on Netflix and like all this shit. And I was like, I have to do that latter. I have to do the latter. It wasn't a choice. And it was just so like intense how I've lived my whole fucking life. Is I could never waste a second. I could never really enjoy anything. I never, even when I would go out and go to like all these beautiful places and like travel and stuff like that, like if I'm being really honest with myself, like I never really enjoyed it. Like I would look out at these beautiful vistas, but no feeling would really come to me. Like it'd be like, I know it looks cool, like I know it logically, but it couldn't really feel it. And so I spent every fucking day grinding. And it truly felt like my life depended on it. Like not being successful was like literally like a death sentence for me. Like that's what it felt like. That's how intense it was. And now as I'm coming out of that state of mind, it's just been really mind-blowing how much of life I was actually missing. And the sun is getting in the camera's lens. I don't know if that's a problem or not, but whatever. But I was really fucking missing life and actually living. And I thought I was living, doing, because on paper, I was living a fucking amazing life. I was getting to do what I loved as a career and working with all these big brands and like, you know, occasionally making some money and like occasionally working with some celebrities and stuff like that. But in reality, there was a quote that I once saw on Twitter that really fucking kind of changed, or not changed me, but like kind of was like, oh fuck. And it said, are you happy or are you just distracted? And I read that and I was like, fuck, like I am totally just distracted. It was, you know, but it was confusing too, because I was also at the same time, I was doing something really fulfilling to me. Like I really genuinely did like, you know, love seeing a project come to life and to fruition, and then your story that you have in your mind, like being told, and like people's reactions to it. And like, there's a really genuine, true part to that too. So it was like it was confusing why I would be so kind of down. And pretty much how it worked was I would, you know, have this project and then it would go super well. I'd be so happy with how it turned out and I'd be on this really high. And then when I wouldn't have a project, it would just come back and crash down to these lows. And these lows were just kind of like my baseline. And all that to say is my mood and my happiness was 100% dependent on whether a particular action or what happened at a particular day ended up getting me closer to my goal of this success. If I was able to find an actor for something, boom, good day, happy day. If I wasn't able to find a location for something or a location fell through, boom, bad day, right? And so it's just up and down, everything was in pursuit of this goal. I love the idea of finally being able to be still and like take a break and like enjoy the nature. But when it comes down to it, like I can't do it. like the pressure to enjoy the nature makes me not enjoy the nature, if that makes sense. Like I'll be like, okay, cool. Like I'm in a hammock. I am fucking in a fucking hammock in the middle of some woods. And it actually really does look pretty right now. But this will be just kind of a general synopsis of what I usually go through, where it's like, I will know in the moment that I'm not in the moment, and I'll be like, well, why are you not in the moment? This is just such a beautiful, peaceful thing. Like you're in a hammock, whatever. And so I won't be able to feel this kind of like peaceful thing that I've felt in the past. But that's the amazing irony about trying to get this peaceful thing, is that if you're trying to get it, then it goes away, because peace, at least in my opinion, it just exists within you. It's not anything that can be like attained. Although I will say, like, even just talking about this stuff or even just talking like this, um, it is it is it is kind of nice, you know. A good movie that really fucking paints the right picture is Whiplash. That's what my life was. I had to fucking be successful or whatever that fucking means. But I had to do it. And if you want an idea as to what it was like, it was kind of like Whiplash. Maybe a little less intense than Whiplash. I wasn't like getting in car accidents and shit, but the vibes of Whiplash were definitely there. So I don't know. The whole thing has just been kind of wild to me when I've kind of gone on long trips of just by myself, and I can't be okay just doing nothing. I'll get like totally fucking anxious. So I know I have this kind of issue or whatever. And so one day I went to a trip through Northern California, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to buy a hammock." And this is going to sound ridiculous, but I was like, "Okay, I'm going to buy a hammock." Because I've never just, like, even the times when I have relaxed technically, like, it didn't really feel like relaxation. Like, if I go on vacations and stuff like that, like, it didn't really feel like I would know logically, like, the kind of thing in front of me was beautiful and this was like relaxing, but I wasn't truly relaxed, if that makes sense. Like, I would be trying to get pictures for my Instagram story or do some bullshit, or like there was, again, it was all in I'm blanking on the word I want right now, but it was all in an effort to get to some goal, right? Like, even enjoying the vacation, I couldn't truly relax and enjoy it because I had to post to the story, or had to do this, or had to even go see go see a specific landmark or whatever it is. Like, I couldn't miss that. Like it was all in service of a goal. And so anyway, I went on this solo trip through Northern California to the Redwoods. Um, I was half like trying to shoot something, and then half like half like trying to get in touch with that kind of Zen state that I've experienced a few times, or really like once or twice. And anyway, so I have all this shooting gear and stuff like that, and but I buy a hammock. This was probably like 2 or so years ago. I bought this hammock, and so I bring the hammock, and I'm kind of doing my shooting stuff, whatever, and I'm also trying to like relax, and like I'm like camping out in my car, and so I'm like trying to be okay with like being alone and like solitude and like being in my car. And I feel like the pressure of setting up this hammock and using it, right? Which is so ironic. Like, the hammock is supposed to be this fucking Zen thing of relaxation. But like, I know I'll be upset at myself if I don't fucking hang up the hammock and peaceful and zen in the hammock, which I know to any normies watching, I'm sure I sound fucking nuts. But whatever, that's what it is. So I feel I'm like through this trip, I'm like gone for like a week or so, but I feel this pressure of like, I should use the hammock, right? I should find a perfect spot, and I gotta find this perfect spot and use the hammock, and I'll be so peaceful and whatever. And overall, it was like, it was a fine trip or whatever, but I never, I never, I never took the hammock out because there's all this kind of pressure associated with it. So ever since then, oh, kind of a similar thing with like a picnic blanket and like a park. Um, like I always keep like a picnic blanket and like a giant one with me. Um, because I never know when I might finally feel in that right state of mind to be able to lay out a picnic blanket and sit in the park and feel peaceful. And so, long story short, where I always have a hammock, this hammock, and a um and this picnic blanket thing in my car, all in like kind of like a condensed little case thing. And there have been multiple times where, because I was living in California at the time, and there's so much gorgeous fucking scenery there. And there have been times where it's just been like a Saturday, and it's just been like I've been like kind of feeling that kind of peaceful zen, like, oh, like we should go, I should go set up the hammock. And like so, I get in my car, I'm like gonna drive to this like national forest to set up the hammock, and just the expectation now, like I'm in doing that, in driving the hour or 2 hours, in figuring out how to set it up and tying it to the tree. All of these things are putting an expectation on myself that, like, what if I get in the hammock and I still feel just as anxious, or I feel anxious at all, or I feel super anxious the whole time, and I don't get that peaceful zen. And obviously, because I have that pressure to feel this peaceful zen, I don't get the peaceful zen. And so there have been multiple times where I feel a little bit of that peace, like, oh man, it might be a good time to go do the hammock and try to put it out there somewhere beautiful, whatever. And I'll get in my car and maybe start to go, but then that feeling will fade and I'll start to get anxious because I'm starting to put pressure on the moment. And so I won't do it. So, long story short, I've never set it up, ever. That is until yesterday, actually. Yesterday, I didn't know how to fucking set this thing up either. Like, I didn't know if it was going to be complicated or hard or whatever. And that's the other thing I get, I get anxious about not being able to, like, not knowing how to do things and like struggling how to do things. But it was fucking easy to do. Just 2 ropes and a little fucking clip, and it worked out great. But that's another point of anxiety, was I ended up coming out here yesterday and I was like, oh, like, and it was more just kind of like a fleeting thought. Like, you could go set up the hammock, whatever. You don't have to be in it, but you could just kind of go set it up. It was, the reason why I ended up doing it, I think, again, it was out of fear, or maybe it wasn't, but it was 70 degrees out in the middle of December. And, oh, like, I just had the thought of like, oh, like, maybe just set up the hammock somewhere. Oh, actually, that's not even the beginning of it. Before, like a week prior, a lot has been leading up to this hammock build, which is fucking stupid. But a week prior, I was kind of walking just through the woods, and I kind of looked for a place to maybe set it up. But I didn't set it up, and a week or so went by, but I kind of thought of a spot. And then yesterday, I went back to that spot. I was like, oh, I could just kind of set it up. And I ended up kind of hanging out in it a little bit. And again, like, I would say 90% of the time, there is like this kind of like underlying pressure to feel the peace of the hammock, which sounds fucking insane. I know, but it's there. And yeah, and that is because, I'm in my own fucking head, right? And honestly, what's really funny is I think I like, even like in filming this and just in trying to be more authentic as opposed to this kind of performance version of myself, I've like on that first recording when I first kind of laid down, I don't know if I'm going to include it in this or whatever, but I did feel that kind of like zen, you know, a little bit, you know. Um, anyway, so here I am, and I am trying to avoid this, or not avoid. Well, maybe I am trying to avoid the hammock. Freudian slip. But I'm trying to enjoy the hammock. But yeah, the more I try to enjoy it, the less I enjoy it. But I'm here. I set the hammock up. I guess it's up. And, you know, I do like swaying a little bit. That's kind of nice. I just had a thought of like, oh, like, like, oh, like, I wonder if I look at peace right now. I wonder how zen I look. I wonder if someone watching me would be like, oh, that guy's fucking anxious or he's zen. And then if I do, and I'm like feeling anxiety right now, I've been thinking about that. And if I do feel any kind of zen peaceful state, I know I'm going to be thinking about like, oh, what do I look like when I'm in the zen peaceful state? Fuck. So anyway, you know, I'm just going to try and sit here for a little bit. Not talk. Or maybe I will talk. I can't shut up, so. No, I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. If I want to talk, I'll talk. If I don't want to talk, I won't talk. But I'm feeling some pressure right now to where if I don't talk, I'll be like, oh, I'm trying to be in the peaceful zen thing. For any normies out there, this is what it's like to be very much an overthinker. You know, when I was setting this up yesterday, one kind of, I don't want to call it a moment of zen or whatever, but one like peaceful kind of thing that I experienced was like, it's kind of set up right now to like wrapped around some pretty big, like a bigger, like a, I guess it's a normal size tree, but whatever. The trunk is kind of big, whatever. And so I have to wrap my arms like all the way around it. And so I had to stand really close to the trunk of this tree. And I did have like one moment, like looking at the trunk of this tree, and like I'll move the camera there and get some shots of it. But like all the detail of like all the different pieces, just like I don't really know how to describe it, and it's not going to come across on a YouTube video, that's for sure. But like it just felt like fucking just like real. Like the amount of detail in it. Like it's like you're looking at a painting. And that's the kind of thing that I totally lost sight of my whole life. Like my spectrum of experience was like this. It was like all goal oriented. Whereas now I can get more enjoyment like looking at a fucking trunk of a tree. Like it genuinely fucking like blows my mind, and I could just stare at it. Like I'm hoping, in theory at least, my spectrum of what I'm able to experience is widening from what I used to be able to experience. Because I could fucking, dude, if I looked at a fucking tree, fucking 25-year-old me, I'd be like, dude, it's a fucking tree, fuck off. Like, what are you talking about? But like, I'm looking at the same tree now, and it just feels different. And I don't know, maybe I'm being performative here, but I have had a lot of those experiences to where I don't think I have anxiety as I'm saying this stuff. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm putting like an expectation on myself to feel more of that, or like even getting to feel that in the simplicity is in and of itself a goal, right? So it like kind of becomes, or that's what, like, you know, instead of the pressure of achieving some kind of success, now it's the pressure of getting into this peaceful Zen state, right? Which obviously doesn't allow you to, will stop you from getting into it. Yeah, I think that's obviously my issue with my relationship to this hammock, is because anytime I would do it with the purpose of getting to this state, where in reality, that state, it just comes to you. You can't control it. You know, it's like falling asleep, right? You can't, if I just want to be instantly asleep, it doesn't work. Like, the state has to come to you. It's when your body feels safe enough. And my body has never, ever felt safe enough to, with some exceptions, really give me that state. And what's so fucking insane too is that when I was like in that like fucking stage of my life where everything was goal oriented and like it was all go, 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 like I didn't even know, like when your whole spectrum of experience is like this, you think it's like this. You think it's everything. But it's only until you get to experience things outside of that that you begin to realize that, holy fuck, like you have been totally asleep all of life. You've been a fucking robot. And like that, oh my God, that is just fucking insane to me. Honestly, if I reached any kind of peace here, even just in this video, I would say generally no. Like I have anxiety even as I'm talking right now. But two moments come to mind that me looking at that tree yesterday, and then when I first got into this hammock, I think I already said this, when I first got into this hammock, I kind of felt like a bit of a peace, you know, because I kind of, and that was part of the initial recording, but I kind of just got into a flow and I was just kind of yapping. And I was just being really honest. And I think I did feel a little bit of Zen there, and that's nice. But here's the fucked up thing. Or here's where I fucked up. I always thought the goal, these past few years of me transitioning out of this goal-oriented state, I always thought the new goal, was to achieve peace, was to feel the Zen, finally feel the peace, and put myself in situations where I get to feel the Zen and the peace. But what I've learned is that the real goal is just to feel. It's just to feel anything. And then the peace comes. So to feel the anxiety, to feel the sadness, to feel the happiness, to feel anything, to put no qualifiers on it, no pressure on it. And then you just get into your natural fucking state, which is really just what you were as a kid. It's before you were fucking fucked with. As a fucking kid, you're in fucking peace. You just fucking act. You just fucking live. And a kid doesn't need to put pressure on himself to act like a kid. He just acts. He just is the kid. And so, yeah, like, I just am. I don't need to do anything. I just am. And it's my theory anyway that when you just are, that level of, or that state of being and that state of peace comes naturally, or at least that's what I've experienced a couple times in the past. Okay, I think that's all I have. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking, but she's outside, probably freaking out at some deer. I will say, it's really cool as the sun goes down. It's really cool. You know, even as I say things, I'm thinking in my head how I'm saying them, how I'm gonna say them, what I'm gonna say next, you know? I don't just speak often. Sometimes I do, but often I don't.